Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and hands-on learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. My name is Sylvan and I will be your host. Sophia, very warm welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you. It's a really pleasure to be with you today.
So you're the CEO and co-founder of Caressoma, a company that makes ultrasound measurements simple to monitor soft tissue injuries. That sounds like a very interesting but also complex technology. So I wonder what motivated you to actually start your own company?
Well, first and foremost, I think I have this deep desire to create and build something that could actually have an impact on society. But it was also that I've talked to several people and about my ideas, and they were saying, "Well, wow, this is something I would never dare to do." And I realized, okay, if everyone thinks that it's hard, I mean, if you think of a medtech company and hardware is hard and medtech is highly regulated. So this means you have a huge bunch of problems, and there are a lot of reasons not to go in this direction. But I felt if no one does it, then what is left in our society? How can we improve on healthcare? And I want to be part of a good healthcare system where I can live long and healthy as long as possible. And then someone has to do it. And this kind of motivated me to say, well, I have to do it.
So that's impressive. So if you face a challenge, that is extra motivation for you.
Yes.
That's great to hear.
That's true. I love challenges.
Yeah, that's great. Can you talk maybe a bit more about the problem that you actually solve with Caressoma?
Yeah, of course. So if you look at the federal statistics, you see that soft tissue problems. So soft tissue means everything that has to do with movement. So your muscles, tendons, ligaments, fascia, fat, anything that has to do with moving your body. Those problems are responsible for the highest direct healthcare costs, which means the treatment costs, and the indirect costs, which means salary losses and work absences. So it's actually a huge problem. And the reason is that it takes really long to heal. Because if you have a bone fracture, well, it can actually heal pretty quickly. But if you have something with your muscles or tendons, it takes years sometimes, and some people actually develop chronic pains, and it's a big issue to really heal those problems. So we've seen that this effect is even more pronounced and actually pretty highly pronounced in professional athletes. And every day over 3,000 athletes get injured in Europe alone. So, there are estimates that 40% of these injuries could actually be avoided if they were monitored properly. But now you face the challenge of how do you monitor? There are big three medical technologies. There is an MRI, which is expensive. You have large overhead costs. Each measurement takes a long time. Then you have a CT, but the CT has X-rays. And then you have ultrasound. But ultrasound has its own challenges because so far the images in ultrasound are in 2D, so they are hard to interpret. And also taking the measurement takes really a skilled person. So you need to learn over years of experience how to find the right angle, the right pressure. And the image also heavily depends on the position of the patient. So you never get to the position where you can actually compare images and from one day to the next and see an evolution, monitor soft tissue, even though you can really see a lot of extremely good details in ultrasound. And this is what we want to change. Make it easy to take the ultrasound measurement. So actually, create a 3D volume instead of having 2D images. Let the measurement be taken automatically at always the same pressure, angle, and fix the position of the patient to always the same way so that the images are standardized.
That sounds great. I saw a video on your website. So this is really like a machine that then does sort of the scanning for you.
Exactly.
If that's how you actually then deliver and make sure that you get the same position and so on for everybody.
Exactly. That's exactly how it works. Yes.
Awesome. And you also mentioned that athletes are your users at the moment. Is this the main focus that you have right now, or are there already other people using your product, your services at the moment?
Yeah, so our users are actually the healthcare professionals, so those that interpret those images, and this is our focus, which means on the one hand doctors, of course, but also on the other hand physiotherapists or also personal trainers, because as it turns out, you can actually use ultrasound to optimize the training. We're in contact with several organizations that go in this direction, and this is highly interesting what you can do with ultrasound.
I'm excited to see that in the fitness market one day, hopefully.
Yes.
So let's also talk a bit about your team. What experience does your team bring to the table?
Yeah, so we're 3 co-founders. One of my co-founders is Jana Maes. She is very entrepreneurial of spirit. When she was younger, she started her flying massage business and then studied osteopathy, is experienced in different countries, has seen over 10,000 patients, knows exactly what the problems are in with soft tissues. And then we have our other co-founder, Jinesh Kallunkathariyil, who has 19 years of R&D experience and knows really the ins and outs of all hardware and software issues. And then there's myself. I started out as a quantum field physicist, doing a lot of programming, algorithm development, AI, and published 34 research papers. And then we have Luca, who is our freelancer who helps us on the mechanical side.
Great. Sounds like a cool team.
Yeah, well, it's kind of fun, yeah.
Do you also hold any patents with your business? Because you are also active in this hardware part.
Absolutely. We filed 2 patents and with the European Patent Office, and the patents are currently under review. So we're waiting for the reply, and it's
Ongoing.
Yeah, they're filed, and this is kind of the most important thing because you have the priority date, which is fixed, but you have those waiting times where you have to wait up to 9 months, at least 9 months until you get a reply from the patent office.
Let's also talk about some milestones that you have recently achieved. Can you tell us a few of those?
Yeah, sure. So we've solved a major technical challenge, and with this we could finish our MVP, could start really letting doctors, physiotherapists, athletes, and fitness studio owners try out our technology. Apart from that, we've raised 270,000 Swiss francs from investors, and what else? And we've, now have, so for a long time, I was the only one being full-time employed, and now we're 2.5 FTEs, which is incredible, makes an incredible difference.
Yeah, I think that has a huge influence on the speed of execution, I guess.
Absolutely.
Now, you said that ultrasound technology per se is not something new. So I assume that there are also indirect or maybe even direct competitors that you face. Can you talk a bit more about the competitive landscape on the market side?
Yeah, of course. So on the ultrasound side, there are some companies that also provide reproducible ultrasound volumes. In particular, there are 2 big robots that are, of course, high in maintenance and expensive, and those focus on having reproducible images for the breast, so for breast cancer detection. Then there are 3D ultrasound companies that have a specific application domain, either for like the tendons. For only the, it's the Achilles tendon in particular, or they focus on rather the cardiac domain. Then there is the DEXA scanner, which is used actually for monitoring in the sports domain. The problem with the DEXA scanner is that it uses X-rays. So if you want to put a person under the X-ray every day, you get exposed to this ionizing radiation, and this is, of course, not so nice. But those are the different, competitors around.
And how do you then differentiate yourself? I think that you have a special combination of the different areas that you just mentioned, but maybe you can just quickly tell us what's your USP or positioning is against the other solutions in the market.
Yeah, so one thing is that we provide standardized images for the whole body, not just part of the body. We allow for separating the measurement and the interpretation. So the measurement can be in one place. The measurement can even be taken by an athlete, and the interpretation can then be done by a healthcare professional who is remote, who is not in the same spot as the athletes. This is often very interesting because the athletes are usually in their training facilities, while the doctors may not. So the standardization and having this remote, the possibility of taking remote measurements.
So, building a company is a difficult thing to do, also a hard thing to do. So I'm sure that you also faced some challenges along the way to where you've gotten right now. Can you talk about the toughest challenge that you had to overcome with your company?
Yeah, I think the toughest challenge so far was to really getting to the product market fit. Taking a lot of interviews, hearing from a lot of people, well, this is not interesting, or hearing it is interesting, but then you find out, well, if you ask more and more and more, then they're more honest and say, well, okay, maybe I wouldn't pay anything for this. So getting really the right product market fit is a big challenge, and took us really some time.
So would you say that you already solved this challenge now? Because if so, I would be super curious to hear more about how you did that.
Yeah, I think one important thing is to really ask for how much you would pay for it, because then people really start to think, well, would I pay for this? Is it actually really interesting for me? So this was one thing, and after all, also asking the questions in a way that you give the other person the opportunity to really say no, and making clear that it's not a problem to say that this is not interesting. Asking details about why it's interesting to really get deep into understanding what the issue is, or whether they just want to be nice. And I do feel that we do have a product market fit. I also think that, or my experience is that that in the beginning everything is pretty volatile, and the more progress we're making, the less volatile things are. But we still need to focus, because there's so many opportunities with our system. And you could go to rheumatology, you could go to neurology, you could go to emergency care. There are really a lot of opportunities there, but we need to focus. And this is one thing that comes back and back again, that we need to focus more.
Yep. Yeah, otherwise you try to build up 3 startups at the same time.
Absolutely.
If you go after 3 different clients.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great learning and also takeaway to really have this focus on one market, one client at first to tackle that one. So currently you're also fundraising. How much money are you looking for and what will the funds be used for?
Yeah, so we're looking for 800,000 Swiss francs more to get a safe, marketable product and commercialize it actually in the non-diagnostic domain as a non-medical device. So really focusing in the beginning on training optimization in the non-diagnostic domain, and then gradually going towards the diagnostic domain. But this non-diagnostic domain is actually really interesting. And the more we learn about what opportunities you have with ultrasound, the more exciting this also the more the excitement shows up what possibilities you have there. And there are actually people already who use ultrasound actually for training optimization. So
So I think once you have the team winning the championship, no matter in what sport, using this technology, suddenly everybody wants to use it, I could imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. And then at the same time, you can, I mean, the athletes, they really use their body, right? They give it for our benefit. We cheer them on and they really, use their body intensively. So I think it's also a tribute to the athletes that, I hope that they, really get the best possibilities and in having sustainable training growth of their performance as well.
So to sort of finish off this episode, I prepared 3 rapid fire questions for you. The first one is, what was your summer job as a teenager?
Well, I programmed and designed web pages for family and friends. Does it count?
Of course, yeah. I think that's a pretty good job. What are you most proud of in your life?
I think that I really had the courage to start from scratch, because I had this nice career going, and people in my field knew me, and it was it was almost a bit easy, and really starting from zero again. I think I'm really proud that I followed through with this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's an impressive move to take.
Yeah, it's a
And the
risky
last
move as
one,
well. Yeah.
the last one for you today. What's a surprising fact that people don't know about you?
I love my bike. If I have the chance to go by bike anywhere, I take it. And for example, yesterday it was raining heavily, and I took my my jacket, but I didn't have a trouser for a rain trouser. So my trousers were soaked in water, but it was so nice to feel the wind and have the fresh air, and yeah.
No matter what the weather is, if you can take the bike, you take it.
Yeah.
Nice.
I love to take the bike.
Cool. So, Sophia, that was a lot of fun. Thank you very much for telling your story and the insights.
Yeah.
And we wish you and your company all the best for the future, and hope that you can get the 800K in fundraising closed as soon as possible.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be really awesome.
Thank you very much for listening to today's episode. Before we wrap everything up and give you a sneak peek about our next episode, we would like to thank our sponsor, SBB Startup. The Swiss Railways launched their own startup program, so no matter if you're already an established company or just have an idea, they are eager to hear from you if you think that your company or your idea is a good fit to the Swiss Railways. You can get in touch with them at sbbstartup.com, and they will support you with internal connections, with coaching, and also are very interested in launching a pilot project with you. So if you think that your product or your idea or your company have the potential to collaborate with the Swiss Railways, get in touch with them at sbbstartup.com. thank you very much for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed the content, we would be thrilled to receive your rating on Apple Podcasts. That way you not only support Swisspreneur, but also help other entrepreneurs discovering the show and finding more valuable information on how to run their businesses. Next week, we will already be back with an all new episode of the Swisspreneur Show, so we hope to see you again then for a new episode.